to make one more comment or say one more thing that they thought about after the presentation they made, and they would still like you to know about that, or an observation about the Congress itself, and we'll give them 2 minutes each to start. So whoever wants to begin.
I am worn out. I am discombobulated. So this has been a great Congress. This is a marvelous measure of what we're talking about here. This is an overexcitable experience at all levels: sensory, emotional, imaginational. Thank you, Susan. I'll say more later.
Aaron Huff and I worked on a study in Turkey looking at the question of what is the relationship between psychomotor overexcitability and ADHD. This is the first empirical study that's been done. It has over 250 cases. The answer is there is no relationship at all between psychomotor overexcitability and ADHD. And that's looking at people that are diagnosed with ADHD and treated, people that have ADHD and are not treated, and people that don't have ADHD. So you can medicate all you want to, it will not affect psychomotor overexcitability.
Is this on? I guess I just want to, even though I focused on, and the conference focused on dynamisms, I just want to remind us all that the theory really tries to explain the full range of human functioning, not simply the upper reaches. And because sometimes we're left with the impression, or at least I'm left with the impression, that it's only about the higher levels of development. My reading of the theory reinforces the idea that it's an ambitious attempt to explain everything from psychopaths to the exemplars of humanity. And I think sometimes that gets lost in our discussion. As an aside, there was a reference to a study that Linda brought to, I haven't received my copy of GCQ yet, the summer edition, and in that they're talking about the 5-factor personality, and they call it a theory. It's not a theory. Some of us may know the origin of the 5-factor approach to personality. It's really the product of a lexical analysis. I think it might have been Cattell. You'll correct me if I get the name wrong. But what they did is they went through a dictionary and looked at all the words that they believe referred to personality. And that's the origin of the 5-factor. I wouldn't call it a theory, because when I think of theory, I think of an organized conceptual framework consisting of assumptions, propositions, constructs. So in the article, they refer to it as a theory. I personally, my view of theory, I take issue with that. And I'd rather have a theory like Freud's or Dabrowski any old day of the week compared to, which is based on actual observation of human beings and their attempts to deal with issues in a psychotherapeutic setting than something that is emerging from a bunch of words in a dictionary.
Have you taken your heart pill? I don't want to give you a heart attack.
We're not into a conversation. Talk.
I don't know what to say.
Speak. You're speechless. Wow.
The more of these I go to, I think I'm becoming a bit more articulate to the issues. And one of the issues I perceived at the last session, and at the last conference and this one too, is that a lot of people are searching for answers, and they're coming to these kind of sessions to try to discover answers. And I think that we need to be very sensitive to that. And I think that a great topic for the next conference would be autopsychotherapy in the classroom and in the clinic. And I think that the fact that this theory challenges and changes lives is very powerful and needs to be treated with respect and needs to be really acknowledged very clearly. And of course, I want it to go on, and we'll try to work with our colleagues to make that happen. Thank you very much for all of your support that I have felt, both in this Congress and in the emails and in the past. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
I want to thank Joanna Dabrowski for those amazing books. I was blown away. It is, for some of you who may never have even known about them, you may not even understand what a treasure you've been given, but it's an honor to own those. I have never owned any of those and have always wanted them, and it meant a great deal.
No, I don't think I want to say anything.
All right, I have a question, Seth. In the article, which I read twice last night and then couldn't sleep, it said that it quoted you as saying that you had to have all 5 of the overexcitabilities for higher level development. And in Laurie's initial comments in the pre-conference, he quoted Dabrowski as saying that you really needed to have that emotional, intellectual, and imaginational, and that they had to be higher than the sensual and psychomotor. I am a bona fide member of the Sensual Overexcitability Committee. I think the bath is the best thing in the world. And I'm curious about the 5. Why 5?
Well, in the meantime, before Sal gets hold of it, what my understanding of Dabrowski said is not that emotional, imaginational, intellectual have to be higher than or more than in quantity, but they have to be, the other 2 have to be subordinate to the 3. Well,
It's like the big 5 personality theory. Well, I think in my reading, and of course it's a theory, and we interpret our readings and we bring whatever we bring to it. But my interpretation is that you do need all 5, and of course you need the big 3, as we often refer to the emotional and intellectual and imaginational. And the reason you need all 5 is because the 5 create, I think the 5 tend to create the conflict. So the lower levels, the psychomotor and the sensual, drive a person in one way. So if an individual only has high intelligence and psychomotor and sensual, then Dabrowski thinks of that as perhaps one-sided development. It's not, that person is not really on the path of development as he describes it. So the 5 really are essential, and the lower forms are transformed by the presence of the big 3. So the psychomotor creates more energy when we have all 5, but they are transformed to a higher order. Here's Tillier.
One thing that struck us was that it would be 11 o'clock at night and the session would be over. And we would be literally exhausted. And we lived, Dabrowski lived probably maybe 10 blocks or 15 blocks from the university. But it was winter and it was quite cold. So I offered him a ride home 4 or 5 times. And he never accepted. He walked home. He had tremendous energy. So I think the difference is at a lower level, level 1, psychomotor may be very strong, but you got the guy going out and playing football, or you've got, some other activity. But at the higher levels, energy is applied and used. The example given was Mother Teresa was tireless because she was able to subordinate her energy, manage it, and use it in the service of what she wanted to accomplish. That's what Dabrowski did. He had tremendous psychomotor energy. He also had tremendous central energy. His fingers never stopped moving, and he often would be rubbing his thumb against his index finger, or he would be scratching the back of his hand or the back of his ear, and he was always in motion. The best answer I can give you is exactly what Lori said. At the higher levels, the psychomotor and central don't disappear, but they're subsumed to higher goals and higher aspirations.
Just to enter or add a little nuance, it's not simply a matter if you have them or you don't have them. You have them in different degrees. So some people, and also development is in different degrees, can be global or partial. So there's a lot of room for variability here. So there may be in some people very strong, it seems that it's required to have strong emotional overexcitability, but there may be in some more imaginational than intellectual, or maybe both are weak, or the intellectual stronger, or whatever. But it'll produce a different profile, a different unique type of growth.
So my example of where the rubber hits the road is that I firmly believe that lust and love are a characteristic of a strong marriage. The sensual, psychomotor, transformed by love.
You wanted to say something?
Something else. I'd like some volunteer collaborators to carry forward the project I mentioned earlier about the archive of Marlene Rankel's work. So I have some sheets describing, in an inadequate way what that would involve, but I'll hand these out to you who come up.
We should give an update of Marlene's health.
All right.
Marlene is in a nursing home in Edmonton. She has, I'm very sad to have to report that Marlene is in a nursing home in Edmonton. She doesn't recognize people, and she has what has been described as a severe type of dementia. And it was a rapid onset type thing. She's been in an institution now for, going on 3 years probably, at least maybe 4 years. And she's not aware of her surroundings, and we're very, our prayers are with her that she's not in anything.
I'll make one clarification on the Big Five. The way it started was at a symposium that was held in Japan. And then what they did was to collect a bunch of researchers, and they tried to put all the various measures of personality together and did a content analysis and determined that there are these 5 factors under which all forms of measurement of personality fall. And it's in that sense, it's a mega theory or a meta theory. But then what has also happened now is a guy whose name I keep forgetting, something. Laycraft. Actually devised an instrument to measure all thought. And it's called the NEO, and it's 240 items. I think that was the biggest mistake. But so it has kind of that combination of being unwieldy, but it really was an attempt to conceptually understand how all personality inventories can be understood.
I take real issue with how introversion is portrayed in the Big Five. And I would love to see that instrument, if you have it, Frank, to see, or anybody who might have access, you've got it. I'd like to see what questions they ask, because it doesn't make any sense to me. And it's just, to me, another way of pathologizing introversion. But that's neither here nor there. What were you going to say?
So the important thing that we've been learning today and yesterday and Thursday evening is that there are lots of contributions to be made, and as Linda and Frank and I are trying to emphasize, it's time to make those contributions now in order to give life. And Barry had an interesting concept from botany of pruning the theory in order for it to grow. That's scary, and it's experimental. Experimental should be scary. It should be risky. It should be a source of conflict and disagreement. The definition of experiment is, what if? And this can't be happening, or, oh yeah, it did happen. And the important part here is that there's an energy. Frank identified it as the energy of graduate students, slave labor. That's really important. I've tried to engage Susan as a slave. She's a very unwilling slave. But as you who went to her presentation see, the product is brilliant. Truly brilliant, parallel to the theory of positive disintegration. Not tied slavishly to the theory, but giving life to the theory in a surprising way, tying it to the Virtues Project and discovering that it is a marvelous fit. And the people in the presentation were inspired to say, wow, now I can do this. All I need to do is learn how to pronounce Saint-Exupéry.
Well, thank you again to the panel. I'm sure we could stay here. Oh, one more, Linda.
I just want to express gratitude to Joe and to Janneke and to this amazing committee that has put on this conference for 2 consecutive conferences. Please give them a round of applause. Krystyna, thank you. I'm sorry. How could I forget Krystyna? You're so inspirational, and your art we used your art in the 2012 conference as well. And you've been such an amazing part of all this. Forgive me. And I want to also express appreciation to all of you who've come here, all you weirdos, who appreciate this very strange and esoteric theory and are committed to keeping it alive and moving it forward. And thank you for seeing the invisible, what's invisible to see. You are here because you are seers and you are seekers, and we couldn't be here without you.
Okay, thank you again. We want to thank our presenters, all of the presenters that have provided session inspiration over the past 2.5 days, but in particular to our front row. Another big hand to each of them. We do have a token of appreciation, and Hal Curtis is going to come up, but we have 2 things for them. A cuddly bear, courtesy of Westmount Charter School, and a personalized thank you card. While Hal's doing that, we had one more prize to give away during the lunch, and it was hidden, so I still have it. If there's anyone that desperately needs something warm over their head before they leave, if you can tell me what my middle name is, you can have it. She already has one. Okay, last round of applause and we'll dismiss them. But just before that happens too, I want to say that I've been given a lot of compliments for the organization and the operation of this Congress, but I have to tell you that it does take a committee to make it happen. Any of you that have run a conference in the past know that it's not a one-person responsibility. So whether it was a matter of being the key contact for the hotel, whether it was creating and stuffing all of your Congress folders, or whether it was technological help, whether it was manning or personing the registration desk, whatever, it took a whole crew. Also, and I'm going to single her out, if Mary Jo is still here, somebody to go out there and solicit sponsorship. So the Sherry McMillan was the one who provided the pens and the paper from Macmillan Estate Planning. And again, we thank our own charter school for some of the provision of spaces to meet the bears that have come along, a couple of the prizes and so on too. And so it's been just a real honor to work with that committee to put this Congress together. So thank you to all of them.
Okay, Joanna, thanks once again for the gift. Thank you so much. I just have a couple of housekeeping announcements, then a quick thank you to our committee. And after that, I would like to share with you just a few of my closing remarks, after which we will decide where the next conference is. The first question is, Marie-Lise is leaving for the airport today after this and wonders if there's anyone else who needs to go to the airport, maybe. Is there anyone else? Oh, good. So...
I thought there's an airport shuttle. Maybe
Yeah, there's an airport shuttle.
So maybe I can just
yeah.
show with the shuttle.
Yeah, the hotel has a shuttle. The one that leaves at 4 that I'm going to
At 4 o'clock?
Okay, perfect.
What time is it now?
24.
Okay. And that's the end of that. Okay, so Marie-Lise, I'll just let you look after that. Okay. So the organizing committee members who are still here, it takes a village, and it takes a committee that just quietly comes up and does whatever he or she can. And it's been an amazing collaborative effort, and I can't thank you enough. So please stand, because I want to make you feel ridiculous and silly. Lori Alisat, are you here? Thank you. Just stay standing. Hal Curtis is phenomenal with the John Finley and Linda Finley, please. David and Roseanne Holland. Michelle Kane. Kathy Wiederick, stand up please. And Kathleen Shakula, are you still here? Please thank these people. And Joel really was our shepherd, and he kept us in line, and we all appreciated that a lot. I have here, I forgot me too. No, big hand for Krystyna from Nanton. Okay, so I'll just quickly wrap it up because finding out where the next Congress will be is important. Wheatley has said it well. First, relationships are all there is. Everything only exists because it is in relationship to everything else. Second, there's no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. We are a community who wants to make a difference toward the higher good. And to make a difference, we must turn to one another and engage in real conversation about topics that matter. It is only through discussion and challenge that we will become more precise in what it is we know and how it is we know it. Who better to engage with in rich conversation than you, our roster of expertise that includes psychologists, teachers, parents, academics, and one another. It has been a rich conversation. Thank you. So Martin Luther King, in 1968, captures where I believe we must stand today in our advocacy for the theory. He said, on some positions, cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? And vanity comes along and asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he must do it because conscience tells him it is right. Let us continue to do this work together. Give us ourselves a big hand right now. Thank you from my heart for this exceptional Congress. And where will the next one be held? You always have to wait longer with gifted people. Hire a plane.
May I suggest somewhere in the southern USA?
Sorry?
May I suggest somewhere in the southern USA?
Where?
Southern USA? This is when, Michelle?
Well, I've been in contact with Susan Daniels, and Susan said there may be a possibility of her sponsoring with her university in Palm Springs. It's in the southern USA.
In July.
She actually said March of 2018.
March?
March of 2018.
Oh, I see, to actually change the time of year.
Better if it's Palm Springs.
It's 102 in Palm Springs.
Calgary. Did you see Joe faint?
That's not a promise, but it's a possibility.
How should we leave this? I don't know if we can have an answer today. Any other comments, though, just to...
Any other possibilities? Any other
Mm-hmm.
I can't offer anything under my own name because I don't have an affiliation, and this is what I do in my spare time when I'm doing here, so that I can't offer that. But I've been contacted by a person who wants to make a global foundation on giftedness, and they want to organize a conference on giftedness every year. And if the foundation isn't made yet, but if if it goes ahead, there could be potential for them to be interested in organizing and financing, and that would take place in Geneva.
Wow.
But I'm kind of promising things that I should be promising.
Yeah, I think we're just brainstorming maybe a little bit.
Bill, you thought there would be another conference. Did you have something in mind?
I don't want to impose on Joe and Janneke and Krystyna, but it seems to me that we've got the infrastructure here, and there's a couple of things we have to look at. I've heard 2 or 3 times over the last 2 days, it's too expensive, the accommodation's expensive, so we need to keep cost in mind in terms of accommodation costs. Palm Springs is expensive probably, but it would be nice to go to Palm Springs in the winter, that's for sure. I didn't have anything specific in mind, but I think it's important that we think as if there's going to be one, because we don't want to contemplate the fact that it would die out.
I know it's a serious amount of work to host and organise a conference such as this. Personally, I think here is a great place for it to be for many reasons, and happy to put my money where my mouth is on this, and in whatever way I could help by distance with any organising, with emailing, with responding to people from the far side, I will put up my hand to help if it is here, because I think it needs to be back here. And I'll come back in 2 years.
Are you from Australia?
Yes.
Yeah.
What about the possibility of holding it in conjunction with the World Council Conference in Australia?
Bill can't get to Australia.
Right.
And so as a result, I think it needs to be here.
So
I'd like to remind you that they can't take the blame.
that what?
They
Yes.
can't take the blame.
At this point, I don't know if we should do anything or should take a vote. Usually we determine that
No, we don't have that information.
Janneke, you have to express, is it too much for you and Joe? Have you kind of run out of gas?
Yeah.
This is a terrible time to ask.
That's true. But Janneke, we can't have a vote
No, I know.
without any volunteers.
I know.
No, I mean, it's something to-
Lori, what should we do now?
What did you do in Canmore?
We decided to have it again here. What did I do?
You just put your hand up and said, that's it.
In Canmore,
You decided that it would be back in Calgary.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you up to it again?
We probably are. I also know that our American friends are maybe thinking that it needs to go south, so I don't know if it rests on, if it were here, we would do it again.
Michelle and Linda and Frank, what's your views on that? You want to do it in Denver?
No.
No. Everything's very clear.
The thing is, that
Okay, so would you be willing to come back to Calgary?
Yes.
no, yeah, I think that it's a question of having the support of enough people to make it happen. And I do think you got a wonderful situation that way. And I don't see how under the table you have. So, I mean, that I think is an exceptionally important and good thing. And I don't know what Susan is thinking about, Michelle.
What do you mean? I just reached out to her because I know that she had wanted to be here, And I know that she has the affiliation with the university, and back to cost, that they had housing that was connected to, they have a satellite campus in Palm Springs. And that they had, housing connected to the university that was more affordable, that was available there. So, this is totally preliminary. This was just a hole in the water.
Barry and Melissa.
I have a question. Was there more or less than there was at Kenmore last week or last time?
There were more, by about 20.
Yeah, we had 100 in Canmore, and we have about 85 this year.
So I would, just from an interest standpoint, I would like to have a Kenmore just because I've never been there before.
Yeah, but think of it, Florida is coming a long way already, Kenmore is just that much more. Too expensive.
It was expensive.
Booked extra day on Canmore.
And Melissa?
I know in some organizations there is an organizing committee, and the committee isn't attached to a venue. And it would strike me that it might be helpful if there was an organizing committee that drew from the congregation here, and then out of which possible venues.
Yeah, I think that's a really good.
It doesn't even hang on to people who happen to live in the location. I mean, some things do, but.
Yeah, I also will put my vote forward in terms of our realization that the theory is about ready to maybe be launched in a bigger way. And so I would never want there not to be another conference, and I would want all of I think we counted seven countries here represented. So I think it is lovely to be able to pull together all of the wonderful thoughts I've heard in terms of, for it to be able to be launched in a bigger way, and that parents need to be in on this and so on, and that the international component is quite delicious. So if you'll trust us to maybe strike a committee with a viewpoint, I'm sorry, I'm so inarticulate, with people from each of those countries, and we'll get together and see
Very good.
what
I think it
can.
should be, for the sake of travel, I think it should be one bus ride from the airport, wherever it is.
Can I ask maybe just the two questions about location? If it was back in Calgary, how many here today would return? If it was in Palm Springs, how many would go?
What time of year? What time of year?
Typically or technically in March of 2018.
Oh, I'd go.
March,
I can drive to Palm Springs.
If I just looked at the hands, it's almost an even split one way or the other. So I guess we just have to leave it at that for now. If we can gather some minds about what the options are, get a little more information from Susan Daniels, we can think about what options are. One of the challenges we had this summer is we're right in the middle of Stampede. And the hotel that we're in right now, we got a rate of $159 per night Canadian. If you booked it, if you were coming to the Stampede, it would have been, I think it was $215 or $250. Unfortunately, because it is a very strong tourist attractor, the hotels take advantage of that and just gouge the tourists. So we wanted to avoid this week, but then it ran up against Sing and a couple of other conferences that were running about the same time. So that's why the hotel was available. This time of year, it's really difficult in Calgary to get one, but if it wasn't attached to this Calgary Stampede, we love Canmore. I mean, the vista out there is phenomenal, but it is another bus ride. It is more expensive to get a hotel, or as we had a condo set.
And to tell you the truth, where we stayed last time was glorious, sort of, the Solera, but they didn't have the food. And I thought the food here was outstanding.
The biggest problem with Canmore is it's not really a convention center. So something like the Solera where we stayed wasn't really set up. This one is a true convention hotel, so we got a full service hotel provided.
Okay, everyone, just trust us. Thank you. Thank
Before you
you
go,
for this.
sorry, John had a box out there, it's got 2 big arrows. We'd like you to take just a few minutes to help the new organizing committee do your evaluation responses, and it's in your little folder. So there's a page, if you don't mind taking a minute or two. Otherwise, just send us some comments.